Alright, hold up. Currently 3:40, about to be 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm over here. Wait. Wait, my microphone's not working? Wait, what? No way. Hello? Hello? Oh no, my mic is. Oh, my bad. I thought my microphone wasn't working. But anyway, okay. It's literally 4 a.m. in the morning. I literally clicked on the video for 1 second because I was clicking it, and then the scariest sound came up. But anyway, yeah, here we go, guys. I just found this random scary videos. It's called Scary True Stories Told in the Rain, Thunderstorm Videos, Scary Stories, rating all that shit. And yeah, I think this came out like hours ago, and it's a 2-hour video, but so we're gonna be doing parts of it. So I'm gonna be doing the first part of it, which is about like at least 20 minutes, which I'm about to do. Which, fuck, I can't speak English. That we'll do, and then yeah, let's get right into it, boys and girls, or ladies and gentlemen. I hate. Shit. Oh man. Oh fuck. I'm gonna relax.
The scary stories will start in 45 seconds. Before they do, I just want to remind you to subscribe if you enjoy my videos. Quality is most important to me when it comes to making my videos, but there's another thing that I think sets me apart from other narrators here on YouTube, and it's my minimal ad promise. This video is a little over 2 hours long, and there is and always will be only 3 mid-roll ads. 3 ads. That's a promise. I will never get greedy, and I want you to enjoy my videos without being interrupted over and over again. It ruins the mood, and I know that. So again, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up. It really does help me more than you know. Now,
What time is it?
let's begin.
3:42. Oh yeah, guys. Here's an iPhone, literally an iPhone 4,
When I
because
was
I can't use my
14, I
other
was sent to a
phone
mental
'cause I don't want to.
institution. Here's why. I don't have any friends, and I kept to myself. I loved to look at pictures of dead people, and to be honest,
What?
I still do.
Oh hell
My
no.
parents struggled with trying to make me act normal, and I have no explanation for you or for them. I didn't like other kids. I didn't
What?
like anyone,
Why?
not even my parents.
Oh hell
The
no,
only
dude.
person that I did like was my little brother Harold, who was just like me. He was quiet and he didn't have any friends either. We would play outside and hang out all the time, and everything was great. Until this one night. Harold and I got into an argument, and he told me that he wished he could kill our parents. I wasn't close with our parents, and like I said before, I didn't even like them, but I never felt like hurting them.
What the
Harold told me
fuck?
that not only did he want to hurt them, he wanted to cut them open with the pocket knife in the garage.
Oh my
He
god.
wanted to take the knife and slit them open. This made me cry. I ran to my parents' room, probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, screaming and crying. Harold followed me and was screaming that I was lying over and over. I screamed and told my parents what Harold said and what he wanted to do. My mom started crying uncontrollably, and my dad started breathing really heavy. Obviously, what I told them was scaring them, and Harold was crying too at this point. The next day, my dad took me to the mental institution. For the longest time, I was in that hospital, angry, not understanding why I had to live there and Harold didn't. It wasn't until 7 years later that I learned why.
Why?
My dad came to visit me one day, and when I asked about Harold, as I always did, he finally said it. Harold didn't exist. I ran into their room that night, screaming and arguing with myself about how I wanted to kill them, but I didn't want to.
What? What the fuck? What type of demonic ass stories are these?
This was out of this world, insanely scary. Please forgive the short length. Not much happened. I was 11 years old, living in Boston with my dad. I woke up one night super late for an unknown reason. You know how sometimes you just wake up, look around your room, and then fall back asleep?
Yeah, I
Yep,
do that.
that's what happened. I woke up not sure what time, but sometime in the middle of the night. I was looking around the room, and sitting in the darkness of my open closet, I saw a face. A face I had never seen before. Someone was sitting in my closet looking at me.
Oh my
The
god.
ability to move my limbs completely left me. I was frozen. I stared at this person for what felt like an hour. Trying to remember now, I'd say it was really only about 20 seconds. Whoever it was reached their arm out of the darkness in front of them and slid the closet door closed, looking into my eyes the entire time. The
God.
door closed, and I lay there frozen for probably another 20 seconds. And then I realized I had to leave this room. Obviously, there was no way I was going to go back to sleep. I got up as silently as I could and walked out of my bedroom, which the door was cracked open. I ran to my dad's room and went inside. I woke him up, and naturally he was shocked when I told him that someone was in my closet. He told me to stay in his room, and he went to check. The thought of something happening to my dad scared the hell out of me, so I was crying, waiting for him to come back. After a minute or two, he finally came back and told me that no one was there. Cliché ending, I know. I will say this. I do not care if people believe me or not. It really happened. I was not dreaming. When I left my room, whoever it was in the closet left as well. The front door, the back door, and most of our windows were all unlocked. Stupid, I know, but we were ignorant. This happened 6 years ago, and when I try to remember the face, I can't visualize the details except one thing. One thing I have always been sure of. It was a man, and he was missing teeth.
Oh
How do I
god.
know? Because he was smiling at me the whole time.
Oh no. That put tears in my eyes. Fuck out of here. Oh god, that's creepy as fuck. That's creepy
I'm a
as
17-year-old
fuck.
guy currently living in Phoenix, Arizona. This incident took place around 6 months ago on an overnight trip into the Superstition Mountains, which are about an hour drive east of Phoenix. I'm not going to specify the exact trail because I've been doing this stuff long enough to realize what happens when you say too much. Whether it's a good trail, abandoned mine, ghosts, or whatever it might be, people come flocking, and usually with a lot of trash and loud music. This particular trail I was taking was an 8-mile loop through a canyon, a pretty simple overnight trip. I had planned to go with my friend, but at last minute he canceled, and he left me on my own. So with a packed bag and a car ready to go, I decided to go on my own. Not leaving the house on time and some trouble navigating rough forest roads, I didn't arrive to the trailhead until around 5:45, which for those of you who don't backpack, this is a very big no-no. I had about a 4-mile hike until I arrived at my planned camping spot, and it was getting dark fast. So I figured if I moved quick enough, I could get at least 2 to 3 miles in before I had to find a spot. This strategy left me hiking a very dark trail on my own with about 15 miles of dirt road between me and anyone else. Hiking in the dark by itself is scary, especially for where I was and being on my own. Eventually it got so dark that I could only see where my headlamp was pointing, and that's when I figured I needed to stop and get a camp set up. With only using the headlamp as my light source and trying to move fast, I ended up in a less than ideal spot, but there were some burnt pieces of wood and the remains of a fire circle, so it looked like people had been there before, but it didn't look recent. My first priority was to get a fire going. I scanned the area around me and was able to find some dry wood, and I got the fire going. I got my tarp set up and cracked an open can of chili mac I had brought for myself and was very much looking forward to eating. I was feeling good. My camp was set up and my food was on the fire. The feeling of uneasiness from the hike had almost gone away, but it was still there. The side effect of camping alone in a remote area. To fully understand what happened, I have to explain to you how my camp was set up. The site I had picked was a small clearing surrounded by large pine trees with the trail about 30 feet to my left. When you're in the woods and have a fire going, the fire casts a circle of light around it, and everything in the edge of that circle and past it are pitch black. I was sitting on the ground near my fire eating my dinner when a small rock, about the size of a marble, was thrown into my camp. I looked in shock as I was positive that I was the only person on this trail that night. I immediately turned my light on and towards the area where I had seen the rock come from, but due to the density of the pines and the brush, I could only see about 10 feet. I spent the next 15 minutes in disbelief as I scanned in the tree line that surrounded me, searching for whoever had thrown the rock, not daring to stray too far from my fire, that in hindsight offered me a false sense of security.
This shit is making me itch,
After
dude.
sitting back down and spending the rest of my time on high alert, I was able to convince myself that I had somehow kicked the rock, or it had fallen from a tree or something. I went to sleep that night not expecting the pure terror that was about to unfold.
Yeah,
I
boy.
awoke to the sound of rustling leaves, barely inaudible if you weren't listening for them, but they were there. Still in a sleepy daze, I listened, as the rustling of leaves got harder to hear, as I assumed they were moving away from me. I went to grab my handheld flashlight that I had left next to me when I had fallen asleep, but the more I looked, the more scared I got as I came to realize that it was no longer there. I stood up in my sleeping bag and ducked out of my tarp and looked around. I was able to see a light off in the woods. It couldn't have been more than 15 feet away. It was my flashlight, laying on the ground in a pile of leaves. This is one of those few moments in my life where I've almost crapped my pants. The flashlight that I had left sitting right next to me when I had fallen asleep a few hours ago was now 15 feet away, in the tree line of the woods. I hurriedly slipped my boots on, clutching my knife in my other hand and keeping my head on a swivel. I weighed my options: stay here and wait out the night, or attempt the 3-mile hike back to the car in the dark. I figured that whoever was out there with me was definitely going to have a better advantage if I was out on the trail without a light. So I decided to stay at the camp and wait out the night. Eventually, whoever it was came back. I could hear them walking around the woods. It was far off, but I could hear them. It sounded like someone leisurely walking by, like they were on a stroll, without a care in the world. Sometimes they would walk so far away, and I would lose the sound of their steps. But then, an hour later, maybe 2, they would return, still faint. This went on for 3 or 4 hours until I listened to the steps get closer and closer, until they were about 7 feet away from me. At this point, the fire had gotten very small, as I had run out of wood in my pile. The footsteps stopped, and everything went totally silent. I sat there still, for 2 hours, clutching a knife in my hand, and prayed that I wouldn't hear anything else. I stayed like that until the sun cast enough light that I could see that I was alone in my campsite. I packed my things and speed walked the 3 miles back down the trail I had taken. I arrived at the empty dirt road where my car was parked and nearly sprinted to it as I unlocked my Subaru, jumped in, and drove, and didn't stop until I had put at least 20 miles between me and that place. I stopped at a gas station to buy a Red Bull, but mostly just to see or talk to another person. As I exited the store, I was able to read what someone had written in the dust on my back window. Sleep well. A lot of weird things have happened to me on my various adventures through Arizona, but this is the weirdest and the scariest by far. There was somebody seriously deranged in the woods that night. Do yourself a favor and stay as far away from those mountains as you can.
Oh shit, that was really fucking creepy. How many minutes? Okay, this is long. I just ended
My
before
girl and
20.
I frequent the drive-in theater all the time in the summer. It's May, and I don't think we'll be doing it this year, because of what
Not for
happened
us this
last
year.
year. I'm not sure if it's different anywhere else, but at the drive-ins closest to us, there's two movies that play on a single screen, back to back.
Oh my
It's also pretty cheap, so it's an awesome choice for a hot summer night.
I'm not
We were
gonna stand
doing
up.
our
Fuck
normal
that.
thing. We went to the store to get some candy and beer before heading to the drive-ins. I'm sure you know that the food at any theater is ridiculously expensive,
Hell
so we
yeah.
saved some money by doing that. We made it there about 30 minutes before the first movie started, and people were still showing up. We got the front row with nobody in front of us,
That's what's up.
which somehow I always managed to get. After 30 minutes of waiting and munching on junk food, the preview started for the first movie. Everything was completely normal up until this point. And
Yo, I be
during the
hearing some
previews,
shit.
I heard a loud noise. It sounded like someone had kicked a rock at my truck. Not a lot, it just sounded like a good-sized rock hit my tailgate or something. We thought nothing of it because our focus was on the screen. An hour or so went by with no other unusual sounds, and we were enjoying the movie, when suddenly we both heard something strange. It sounded like somebody was walking right next to the truck and dragging their feet. We looked around but saw nothing. I was looking around, and I spotted a girl in the passenger seat of the car next to us, and she was looking at me. She had a concerned look on her face, and she motioned for me to roll my window down. I did, and she immediately said, "There is someone under your truck."
Oh shit.
This made me feel sick. I knew she wasn't messing with me, and
Shit.
didn't know what to say back or what to do. My girl started to quietly freak out, and I asked the girl next to us as quietly as I could what the person was doing. She said back, "I don't know." I was afraid to get out, and I remembered that eerie feeling that I had when I was a kid, and I didn't want to step off my bed at night for fear of someone underneath. Same feeling. I decided to call the drive-in's number listed online and told them what was happening. After asking the details of my truck, they said they would send somebody over to us. Before anyone came, we very suddenly heard more noise under the truck, and then a girl wearing a dress crawled out from under my truck right in front of us
Oh
and
my
began
God.
walking backwards toward the movie screen.
Oh my.
When she got to the screen, she turned and walked away towards the fence that separated our lot and the one next to us. A few minutes later, a man approached my window, and I told him that the girl had walked away.
Alright, last one. Okay, yeah, 3 minutes? Okay, I could spare time.
One of the worst nights of my
That was
life
creepy,
was
though.
December
That was
28th,
creepy.
2013.
It's demonic.
To put it bluntly, and in as few words as possible, a tough Christmas had been rough on my mental health. Then a straight-up shouting match with my mom just kind of finished me off. I stormed out of our family home, screaming profanity and swearing that they would never see me again. Yep, I was that petulant teenager. Sure, I had forgotten my phone and wallet, but was I way too proud to go back and get them? You bet.
Really?
So in my fit of only partially warranted rage, I somehow decided it would be a good idea to try to hitchhike to my friend's house, so I could stay the night there. I had never hitchhiked before. Hell, I don't think I'd even held my thumb out for a cab at that point in my life. But there I was, stood on a stretch of Florida highway, trying to catch the attention of a passing driver. To my surprise, someone actually pulled over pretty quickly, and not the hippie bus rust bucket I had been visualizing either. It was one of those high-end Chevys. I'm not sure which model, and the guy behind the wheel actually looked like that he had a few dollars. I mean, he was the typical-looking rich dad type. Absolutely nothing to indicate that he was anything but nice and well-meaning. "Hop in," he calls out from the open passenger window. I couldn't believe my luck. Like, not only was I about to actually hitchhike for the first time, which felt pretty cool, not gonna lie, but I was able to do so in style. I can't tell the difference between faux leather and the real deal, but when you're in an air-conditioned sedan that still has the new car smell at 17, who cares? I felt grown up as hell. So the guy asks me why I'm hitchhiking, and I'll be honest, I may have given him a totally hopped up version of events, which totally made me out to be the victim. Abusive parents, poor me, blah blah blah. Naturally, he takes this as gospel and starts telling me how his father was an alcoholic, how he sympathized with my situation. I asked him to take me as far down the road as he could, and that I had a friend that lived about 30 minutes drive away. He said cool, and down the highway we go. As he's driving, we talk a lot more about family. He pops the glove box and boom, there's a picture of his kids. As I'm looking at his little girls, he starts telling me how important he thinks family is, especially to those of us that come from less than stable backgrounds. Then he said something that seemed completely out of character.
Oh shit.
We're pulling into a gas station after mentioning that he needs to fill up, continuing the family conversation in segments, if that makes any sense. 1 minute he'll stop talking because he needs to focus on a turn or a lane switch, and then he carries on. So it was almost out of nowhere when he said something like, "We have to protect our families from our true natures."
The fuck?
I didn't know what to say to that, not in that moment. So I just kind of stayed quiet as he gets out of the car and starts filling up the tank. I had a few minutes to process those words, and the more I thought about them, the more I realized that hitchhiking may not have been such a good idea.
Oh shit.
When he gets back in after paying for the gas, there's a few moments of quiet as I'm still trying to work out just what he meant by his last statement. So I just asked. I straight up asked him what he meant by something so
shit.
ominous. It'll be easier if I show you.
Huh? What?
Ever wonder what it would feel like to tuck and roll out of a moving vehicle?
No.
Ever tried to imagine it because you're
Nope.
literally about to do it and you're pretty sure it'll kill you at the speeds you're traveling?
Yes.
Probably not. I hadn't.
Damn.
Not until that moment right there. But somehow I convinced myself that I was just being overly dramatic.
True.
Too little too late.
Oh,
So I just
shit.
stayed in the car. I didn't even ask for him to pull over or anything. Looking back on it, I wasn't sure what was going through my head at all. Just that I really didn't want to be around this guy anymore.
Yeah.
He had gone from nice and normal to moody and creepy in light
hell
speed.
No. Sounds like
You
me.
Everyone has secrets, he
the
says after
fuck?
pulling into a dark commercial lot
Oh,
and shutting
hell
off the
no.
engine.
No.
So, imagine that line spoken as creepily as you can imagine, and then double it.
Shit.
And that's what this guy sounded like. I had kept
Fuck.
my tone polite up until that point. I needed this guy to get me to my friend's house. But I was all out of cool by then, and I'm literally about to ask him what the hell he's talking about
Chill,
when he
bro.
puts his hand on my thigh. He doesn't just put it there either. He puts it there and starts squeezing.
Fuck.
Like I said before, he had pictures of his kids, mentioned his wife. He even bitched about his in-laws a little bit during our little family talk. Look, what I'm trying to say is he did what he did because he was a predator. I'm sure of it. He saw someone vulnerable who apparently had a rough childhood or family background and saw someone he could manipulate. It was the look in his eyes. Man, not this vulnerable I like you look. It was like a hunger. That's the
What
only
the
way I can describe it.
fuck?
Like an excitement before a feast. I just hit him. I'm not some
Oh,
tough
shit.
guy. I don't do MMA. Hell, I don't even think I landed the punch properly, but I threw it hard enough to let him know that he was not about to molest me in a
What the
dark parking lot
fuck?
in the middle of winter.
Oh, hell no, bro.
Then I tried to undo my seatbelt. Tried being the operative word. I pushed the little red button, and absolutely nothing happened.
Oh,
No
hell
clicking
no.
or catching of mechanisms. Nothing. You should have seen this guy smile when that happened. I will never ever forget that look in his eye. Pure predator. I'm not even ashamed to admit that I started screaming for help, like a little kid. But ever have a nightmare where you try to scream, but your voice keeps catching in your throat? It's so scary because it
yeah.
can literally happen.
Think so,
And it
yeah.
happened to me right there, in that dark parking lot. I'm not even entirely sure what happened next. I remember slamming my fist into the glass window and it shattering all over me. I know I must have gotten the door open somehow, too. There were headlights behind us. Someone was shouting as they intervened. The predatory driver reached under his seat, and I thought for a moment
Get
that
a
he was about
gun.
to pull out a gun or something.
Yeah.
But then, the seatbelt felt just loose. I just rolled out of the car as it sped away. In retrospect, I think the guy had a way to unbuckle it, like he jury-rigged it under his seat, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Fucking
I mean, it was
weirdo.
tight as hell, and then it just wasn't. And then the cops are there.
Thank
My
God.
rescuer must have called, and I'm just numb. Not only because I couldn't believe I had almost gotten myself kidnapped or whatever. I mean, I have no idea what that guy was planning for me, other than it wasn't good or innocent.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that my own foolish pride, my own self-pity and lies, could have been the things really responsible for what could have easily been an untimely death.
Ah, shit. Yeah, that's enough. 6. Okay, so we're on story 6. Um. Oh, I'm gonna have fucking nightmares, bro. I can tell, dude. That last one really got me. I wasn't. I'm not. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't really paying attention, but then after I heard hitchhike and this guy, I was like, nah, shit's about to go down. Oh man, even that first fucking story, yo, it was fucking crazy, dude. Oh man, hopefully I think YouTube will allow me to upload this, but yeah, like I said, this is a very long video, so I didn't expect that story to be that long. That story was like, I was like one more video. The story was like 8 minutes, yeah, like something like that. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. It's already about to be like 27 minutes, and I don't know how long it'll upload with my speed. So I'm gonna end the video here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I'm gonna be reacting to more minutes of this guy's story, probably even like some animations if I saw some earlier. And yeah, hope you guys have a good night or rest for later on. I'm gonna be uploading this actually right now. So yeah, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.